Okay, so after the initial discussion, you ask the client to identify the core feelings again. You look at whether the scale of tension has reduced, and then you focus on the eye movements again faster. You discuss changes in the circumstances and why it's better now. For example, if it was an offender, someone was attacked and the offender is in jail, one can say, you are alive and you are safe now. So you can bring in the reality of the present moment, which is why we ask, what are the facts, what's the reality, what's the present moment? That creates a sense of relief. You discuss the changes in the circumstances and why it is better now. For healing, there needs to be a focus on all aspects of a person's being. This includes the body sensations. So, back to Shapiro. In the same way as when we cut ourselves, our body proceeds to promote healing of physical wounds. The accelerated information processing model is a concept of psychological self-healing. So this is really good news. We can think of this processing system as metabolizing or digesting the information that was previously disturbing. So other therapies, for example, the event analysis, do similar things and activate the information processing system. Some counselling does occur in therapeutic education, but it should not be seen as counselling. In the end, counselling is important. So when the unresolved trauma is stimulated, the client not only sees what occurred, but may also re-experience the effect and physical sensations that were felt at the time. So similar experiences link up to that early trauma. But if there's a blockage in this system, then the positive things are not assimilated in the original memory. This memory remains isolated. The neuron remains isolated on its own, and no information can enter in to relieve it. So that it goes on, people go on being triggered again and again and again. So as war victims, maybe, even my parents, they were triggered again and again and again. So the treatment is progressing through memory systems. The subject is identified. What can be a normal annoyance for one person becomes unbearable for someone who has had a trauma. This is what we need to understand. This is due to the dysfunctionally stored material, the distorted interpretations and meanings. This means that the stored emotional memories connected to the past issue are inaccurate, and the neural networks containing this memory is isolated and unable to connect to new information if a blockage is present. So many childhood experiences are infused with a sense of powerlessness, lack of choice, lack of control, inadequacy. Even the best childhoods have moments such as when parents go out for the evening, the child feels abandoned, powerless, and uncared for. In self-awareness and analysis, such feelings of powerless, etc., are focused on without having to access the initial trauma. So there's a relief of the fear and anxiety of facing it. Now, according to all of this information, medication is helpful when a traumatized person is in danger of harming themselves or others because of the powerful, negative, and dangerous feelings. For the purpose of long-term healing, it can be seen, accessing the original trauma, experience, and emotions in the isolated network is vital in activating the internal processing system in order to promote long-term healing. And medication is not needed then. So we're talking about changing the brain, and Norman Doidge says plasticity of the brain, how the brain changes itself. That's incorporated into our working with people. The instinct to heal actually talks about, David Servan-Schreiber talks about the natural instinct, which is obviously this processing system is what he's actually talking about. Okay. So we're talking about the natural healing, that instinct to heal. And so combining counselling theories methods and teaching tools promotes the self-awareness. And therapeutic education provides an understanding of techniques that can work and demonstrate how healing takes place, getting rid of the anxiety. Therapeutic education allows the client to receive insights regarding events. These become triggered by the practice of techniques for self-awareness. Therapeutic education has the purpose of introducing individuals to some basic knowledge relating to human development and psychology, with the aim of stimulating motivation and interest, which then inspires the person to study longer, because this is necessary for long-term healing. We look at Carl Jung's work and Francis Crick. We look at the human genome, how ancestral memories are stored in our genes, and these can be a cause of a blockage in the processing system. So stories about family stories are also important to uncover those. So emotional memories of ancestors need to be taken into account. We have the dream analysis. A feeling creates the story in the dream. So we use the event analysis, but the questions are not always used immediately. It's slightly different than an event analysis. It remains simple, but looking at the feelings and the thoughts at the same time is a dual approach in a structured analysis, which has the capacity to activate the reprocessing system in dream analysis as well. The questions then direct the session towards past experiences and ongoing counselling topics that are needed. Then decisions, making decisions. Decisions made create a sense of empowerment. So if there's a sense of disempowerment, we look at the power of the will and owning your choices. And these decisions and action-based goals are chosen that can be applied to instigate a change in circumstances if used over a period of time. So guilt, this is important, guilt. Guilt stored because of a result of serious harm done to another. These are prisoners, war veterans. In these cases, self-forgiveness is strongly withheld. Self-blame and self-hatred results in self-destructive behaviour of all kinds. It has been found that self-forgiveness can occur by a person deciding to do anonymous good deeds. War victims, for example, that could not forgive themselves, were told that there's plenty of youth in America, this is freezing on the streets, and some of them were carpenters, and they decided to build homes and help the youth, and then they were able to forgive themselves, but without saying who they were. It was an anonymous good deed, because people died because of the war, so they couldn't fix them, they couldn't bring them back to life. So in this case, by doing anonymous good deeds, that could be mentally or emotionally, what was that?
Save a life.
Save a life, yeah, that's right. So that was the way they could forgive themselves and move forward. But then if somebody has been raised with personal criticism that is unjust and they feel guilt, this is called false guilt, and this must be understood and let go of. So self-forgiveness is very important, and the understanding of whether I'm guilty or not guilty is also important. So then the communication skills teaches confidence, and Rogers talks about the respect and incongruence, which is when you make false statements and responses in counselling or communication. It causes a sense of danger. Therefore, openness and honesty are the only foundation for healing, because this creates safety. This is why the congruence, the honesty, looking at reality, works and provides the solutions. Then we look at holistic health, exercise, nutrition, sleep, basic health. So, and we look at developmental stages, whereas Maslow's hierarchy of needs, Erik Erikson's stages of growth, and we look at how these promote maturity, and all the curriculum, the things we do, is incorporated for the purpose of assisting in the maturation process. So then there is theology and psychology, which is in other courses. But the event analysis, just to finish that off, can we put a picture of that?
Yep. I can do it now. Yep.
Okay. The facts, the thoughts, the feelings, the negative interpretation. Then it looks for an alternative and a positive. Then it looks at the foundational problems, which could be from childhood, bringing in the past. It looks at the current reality, what's happening today, bringing in the present. Then it looks at what's reality and facts, or what is distorted thinking relating to the present or the past. Then it starts to look at how you can communicate and deal with an issue and set a goal for a new interpretation, building new neuron networks, and then acting upon that. So that process in itself is incorporating the processing system. And then, of course, at the end, there's also philosophy, affirmations, terminology, which is the foundation for how to maintain positive relationships and a positive life and to maintain mental health. They're also incorporated into this training. Thank you.